All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back in for another rant. Had a bunch of questions in the comments there about certain guys, and I just want to speak my mind on them and give you my perspective. So we're going to be starting off with AJ Brimson. My questions are from him. He is bleeding cash. He's lost so much money. I need to get rid of him now. He's losing too much money. Okay, the question you need to ask from him, do you think he's still a keeper? If the answer is no, then okay, trade him out. If you still think he's a keeper, then you have to judge him from where he's at this current price. Yeah, you've already experienced everything that it is so far. If you trade him out now, then you actually realize those losses, right? If you trade him out now, you miss out on any potential that he has going forward of getting back to those high scores. What you look at with some of these guys is that they go through those ups and downs. Brimson, for example, last year had a couple of lower scores and a couple of higher scores. There's games where he makes some cash. There's games where he loses some, right? He spent some time in the 400s. He finishes the season in 600s. You look at all the guys. You look at Tedesco, for example. He last year had a bunch of amazing games early on. Gained a fair bit of cash, and he then goes down. He ends up in the 900s. He goes down to 700s. Down to 678 before he gets his big couple of hundred scores and finishes in the 830s. So that's something you need to think about with someone like Brimson. And as I said, the decision needs to be made from here on. You've gone through all the tough time. Will he be able to at least hit his current score or price target? Right, at 552, you're looking at scores in the low 40s from him. Do you think he can hit that? Yes. Cool. We're going to keep him. If you think he can exceed that and get back to his 50 average scoring and get up closer to sort of that 670, 680, then even better. But please just don't make your decision emotionally on that he's lost money for you in the past. He had a good game on the weekend. Yes, he didn't have as many tackle breaks that you would have liked, but those will come. And the Titans team that's going to get better every week, then that's something you've really got to think about going forward. Someone else who I'd like to talk about is Josh Jackson. And for this one here, this one's a little bit annoying for him that, most of the people that are asking this question have brought him in this week. So they saw him have that amazing game with the 64 tackles. I did say that he's probably not going to get that as an every week thing, but he should score pretty well, going forward. He might, not get the 64 tackles every week, but he's going to score pretty well for your side. And that's the reason you brought him in, right? He comes in and gets 48 in a few less minutes on the weekend. Okay, that's pretty much in line with what he got in round one. But he's suspended this week for 1 week. I've had so many people go to me, yes, I brought him in this week, but I'm getting rid of him because he's out for 1 week. What's the point of bringing him in? Did you bring him in for making you cash? Did you bring him in to be a keeper? I think most of the people are like, oh, he's a little bit undervalued. He can make me some cash and turn into a keeper, right? At 620k being dual position. If that's the case, then you can't trade him out now. What's the point? That's the question you got to ask yourself. Someone like Brett Morris, I've been telling people that he's not going to score incredibly this whole time, but it's 713k. Everyone's like, all right, let's jump on. Let's make some cash from him. He's a keeper, right? Him at 713k means he has to average this break even at 53, 54. That's his score for each week, right? And if you look at him over past seasons, he has some sections where he gets up into the high 500s, 600s as a max, and then he sits around that 4 to 500k range. Him at 713k, you're bringing him at a massive premium, expecting him to score, 60s, 70s, 80s every week, and that's just not what he does. So that's what I was saying before this. But if you've decided to bring him in, you have to keep him in. You have to bring him in as a keeper for the year. There's no point in. He's not going to get up to 900k. It's not what wingers do. So you bring him in as a keeper for the season, and that's what you got to think about. People are like, yeah, brought him in this week, got 31, not happy. I think he's going to score 30 to 40 every week. Why did you bring him in the first place? If that's what you thought. So if you brought him in, I think you've got to keep him. I don't see the point in trading him out in and out of your squad because he probably gets 80 next week and kills you. You know what I mean? So that's something that I've had a lot of questions of and is a little bit annoying this week. Angus Crichton, I've had a bunch of people go, I've got to trade Angus Crichton out this week. He was terrible. Okay, got 67 first week with a try. didn't have to do too much, and then got 54 and hardly even ran the ball. Only got 99 meters and 3 tackle breaks, 1 offload, a couple of missed tackles. So just a very solid normal game for him. When his average is about 62 from last season, he hasn't even had a chance to give you an 80 or 90, which he got in the trial, and you can expect scores like that across the season with the odd 50 mixed in, and that's where you get the 62 average. So people are like, I have to trade him out for Fafita this week. Yeah, Fafita's done great, but can you get him in another way? A lot of people have Tino, these kind of guys. I'm happy for you to trade up to Fafita, but if you're just trading out a out and out gun in the mid and edge position, one of the best players in both those positions, then by the time the buy rounds come, by the time getting close to the end of the year, you're just gonna have no trades left. Like, I look at my team personally, and I've been trading pretty heavily just because I had a few issues at the start, but I'm going to be slowing down that very soon, and then hopefully spending a bunch of trades over the buy rounds, and then saving a bunch for the end to do really well. But any trade I'm making currently is about making me a lot of cash in the lower guys and the cash cows, or it's about getting a gun in as soon as possible. You'll probably, if you look back at the trades I've made, then that's the plan. Whether it's about improving the makeup of my squad in that first week, or round 2 and 3, bringing in these really strong keepers in the certain positions that I need some help in. So that's the thoughts with Crichton, guys, and just make sure that you are thinking a little bit before making those decisions. And same with someone like Damien Cook. He's sitting at 807k now. He's lost about 40k, but for him, he's a keeper, right? Look at his average, 57.3. It's a little bit under where his average at 64 from last year, but that's because he's had 2 quiet games, right? He's going to have a lot more games around that high 60s to 70s, with some games around the 50 mark, and that's okay. People are like, I have to trade Cook out for Fafita as well. Well, no, you don't. He's a gun. Why are you thinking about trading out a gun and one of the best, in his position in hooker? Cook will average more than Marnie over the year. Okay, very easily, I'm saying that. There's no way that Reid Marnie averages more than Cook over this season. If he does, you can say that to me at the end of the year. But Cook has been an out and out gun in the hooker position for multiple years, and he'll keep doing that. And Marnie is sort of on the way up, but you can see that a lot of his normal scores are going to be in that mid 50s range, and Cook's going to be averaging 60 plus. So that's something to think about with Cook. And I had one more with Trbojevic as well. And yes, he's had a little bit of a down year in terms of he's not averaging crazy high, but this is what happened with me last year. You can see at a fairly slow start, a couple of low 50s, mid 50s scores, and then you see I picked him up, I think around 4 or 5. I needed a very solid gun in the second row, and then he really stepped up his scoring and so scored a lot of scores in the mid 50s and mid 60s there, which was awesome for the back end of the year. And now you see someone that's going to start becoming a target for us players. If he's scoring and his price ducks below that 50 average, and he sits around under in the high 600s, then he's going to be a target for a lot of people. So these types of guys that are scoring 52, 52, 48, they're the ones that are super consistent and you don't have to worry about in your squad. Someone very similar is Alex Twal, where he gets those mid 50s as kind of his standard, and then he steps up and plays a bigger role, or a few minutes or extra minutes, or gets the attacking stats, and that's sort of where Trob gets his. He gets his extra points from the odd attacking stats from some of those games there, or he gets a big 50 odd tackle game or something like that, which he's very capable of doing again this year. So that's something to think about, and please don't trade someone like him out thinking you need a Fafita. Just get some other people in it and just accumulate these guns in your side, and that's how you end up with a really good team by the end of the season. And our last one I wanted to talk about was Payne Haas this week, and looks like he should be named and he should be back. Have a look at this break even, 78, right? So he's going to be priced at that target. So for him to do well, he's going to have to score 70 plus for him to maintain his current price. But it's been said publicly by Kevin Walters that Haas and Carrigan aren't going to play the massive minutes that they have been last year, and they're going to preserve some of their minutes for the back end of the year, or hopefully if they start playing a bit better and win some more games. But there's no point burning these guys out when they have other guys that play 30 to 40 minutes and help them out there. But look how many games he played 80 minutes last year, right? Pretty much half his games he got 80 minutes across the season last year. and that's why he has such big scoring. Yes, he can score the odd 70 and 60 odd in his 60 or 65-minute games, but that's a little bit less than where he's currently priced at. So a lot of people are, I've had people wanting to trade Cook to Haas, like Crichton to Haas, like all these guys, they're just like, banking so much cash to bring in Payne Haas. And I think that's a mistake at this part of the season. He hasn't played a game yet. I think it's best to wait on him a few weeks and see what happens. There's a good chance that his price drops, and you might be able to get him at about 880 or 900, especially after you see him play a few weeks and work out what the minutes are going to be like in that Broncos pack and make your decision that way, guys. But there you go. That's my thoughts on that. I just wanted to have a little bit of a rant on some of the types of players that people are looking to get rid of. But we all have those guys in the mid-range that aren't doing as well and aren't going to be keepers. And they're the ones you want to trade up to. You have the option of trading at Lamb as well, but you have the option of Walker and O'Sullivan. People talking about Brad Dietz, but these types of guys that are really good options and are going to be really good cash cows. We've spoken about, Walker's been a hot topic in the trades this week, but you can see the guys like Schuster who come in and they have an impact straight away, and Walker's been touted as one of the next upcoming amazing halves in the game, and he's going to be someone that if he gets a prominent role, and we'll see with team lists, but if he's getting named there, he should do really well. It could be with a Hutchison or a Joey Manu or something like that, but he should do well. And at 228, then he's very much a no-brainer guy to bring into your side. And then you can use that extra cash to upgrade one of your mid-rangers to some of these guys like Fafita and all that you're talking about. And I think that's going to be really important. Really important lesson to learn there is that that's the way to build up to and get multiple keepers. And then you have a lot of guys on your side you're not too worried about. Each and every week I'm worried about what Welsh is going to do. I'm worried about all these mid-rangers, Lockie, Lamb, etc. How are they going to score? Are they going to be really good this year, or are they going to be really poor? So that's something to think about. We obviously don't have many stats on Walker, and we just go from how well he's dominating in the younger grades and the reserve grade there. So he's someone that's really easy to bring in at 228. Or you have Sean O'Sullivan, who's a 344, who could be a pretty solid option for your side also. What I will say is I wouldn't expect him to be scoring 50 every week. In that game on the weekend, the Raiders had 3 injuries early on in the game, and this created some tiredness for a lot of their players, especially through the middle. And O'Sullivan decided to run the ball a lot, which was really good and really promising signs for him. And you can see in his previous games in the halves that he actually does like to run the ball, so that's very normal. But that's his highest meters gained in any game he's played. Picked up 4 tackle breaks, and I won't be expecting that every week. So for him, you'll be expecting somewhere between a 35 to 45 sort of average there, not a 50. Okay, so just be aware of that when you're trading him in, that he's already at 344. So he's already getting priced closer to that that high 20s average there. So what's that, 26, 27 is what he's average priced at currently. So he's going to be needing to average 36 or 37 to make you that 100 or so K and do well for your side. And if you think he can average sort of around that 40 mark, then he's going to be worth it and should be, you could play him in your squad. So he's someone to think about, but also Walker there. You just save that extra 116K bringing in Walker at 228. And that's why his ownership is going to be much higher than O'Sullivan, for example. And just that he's been touted to be the next big thing. So, 18% already. You've already brought him in this week, which is pretty crazy. So there you go, guys. That's my thoughts on all those players and the types of decisions that you'd want to make in your squad at the moment. And I hope that really helps you. Please let me know in the comments if that has helped you. And I would hopefully prefer not to see as many many questions about getting rid of Jackson and should I bring in Haas and stuff. Just please check in these videos. And if you're enjoying these, please hit like and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good one.